Well, so I'm not going to rehash the talking points that Clive has already done pertaining to this very issue, but as you can see, the way that he's titled his video, Nicola Thinlips tells Police Scotland to investigate racism against children. This has become the talk of the town on a national scale, albeit. He did a pretty adequate job. All credit where it's due, Gudgy. So I'm not really going to rehash his talking points. I'll leave his video in the description. Really, the only thing I have to add to what's already been said by Clive is the fact that, well, as the title suggests, the police have now got involved. And I just kind of want to go over a couple of articles very quickly, very briefly, and give my 2 cents to them. So, first and foremost, we've got the Sun, of all papers. So the Sun say here, head teachers fury after racist trolls target school children or school kids pictured with Nicola Thinlips, right? And of course, it goes on to say, because it's always riddled with hyperbole. That's the way that the mainstream media seems to operate, irrespective of which political stance they take, left or right. In this instance, the Sun are allegedly somewhat right wing, I think. A disgusted head teacher has called for tighter rules on social media after her pupils were targeted by horrific racial abuse in the wake of Nicola Thinlips' visit. Claire Harker says staff and pupils at St Albert's Primary in Glasgow have been victims of hate crimes and have asked the police to investigate hundreds of right-wing posts. Like, this is what you're dealing with here. I've read through the myriad of responses that came in abundance to the initial tweet in question, which was obviously a picture of Nicola Thinlips standing amongst a bunch of school-aged children. The overwhelming amount of them were BAME, and that's a term that they use themselves, hence why I can get away with saying it. There was one white kid with bleached blonde hair, and we don't even know that kid's ethnicity in truth. For all we know, he was Finnish. For all we know, he was German. There's nothing to suggest that he's actually Scottish, but the point was that many people were just pointing out, some in a sarcastic manner, some in a more forward-thinking manner, if you will, pointing out the fact that the demographic was relatively questionable. Some going so far as to, say, for anybody that questions replacement, then just look no further than this. And they were every right to say so, because it's become an apparent consistent theme, something that you will see within the second article that I've got open in the tabs. So anyway, let me also say as well, it's not a hate crime to point that out. It's, as I said, it's the absolute hyperbole that is becoming more and more prominent. We've seen a repeat occurrence pertaining to people criticising and calling out and questioning the critical race theorists. We're seeing the same thing here now. The response is always to deflect in order to deviate attention from the questions, etc., that are being posed to them. The argumentation goes out the window because you're now focusing on the deflection. They get called out, or somebody says something, you notice something, let's deflect to, oh, you're racist. And all of a sudden you're now wasting your time defending that point. Now teachers are being offered psychological support after being bombarded with aggressive posts. None of them were aggressive. You can go and check these posts yourself. None of them were aggressive. None whatsoever. One sick Twitter user used a photo of a primary 4 pupil from the school with a slur about ethnic cleansing, while others posted a twisted photograph depicting a melting chocolate ape. Never seen this at all. But what they're referring to here, if I had to guess, to speculate, is that this is the photo that's been doing the rounds of them zooming in on the white child, the only white child in the photo, and suggesting that, like, if only you knew how bad things really were, or words to that effect. But again, I don't know where this is coming from. I haven't seen this, in truth. Maybe it is there, I don't know. But out of 1,000 odd responses, maybe a couple thousand responses, there might be one bad apple, and they will focus in on that. That's what they do. Miss Harker said 95% of our children are from visible minority ethnic groups. Well, I don't even need to go into the second tab. Well, I will anyway, but my point is 95% of, of your school children in that school are from visible minority ethnic groups. So people are quite correct within their, their observations. Like, this is Scotland. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say, really, on that front. 95%. Is she referring to the photo? No, she's not. Because this isn't the first time I've heard that statistic being thrown about. There's quite a few schools down in Glasgow that are around the 95%-esque percentage point that are non-Scottish. And we get mild racism all the time. Stuff like people driving past the school and shouting comments at the children across the fence or asking if our school is in India. That's just one of those things that never happens. Never happens. Total fucking bullshit. Because if this had happened before, you would have heard about it by now. This would be all over the mainstream media. This would have been everywhere. Irrespective of whether or not they had the proof, you would have heard about it by now. But this is what they are doing. They are doubling down. They are now, exerting their hyperbole, and they are making shit up. Prove me wrong. It's not. They've made the claim. It's not for them to prove me wrong. It's for them to prove themselves correct. But this is much more aggressive. All of, as I keep reiterating, hyperbole. Someone sent a graphic of a melting chocolate gorilla in a pot of milk and the milk turning brown. I can't say for certain whether or not this post was actually posted, but again, I will just say, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Out of the thousands of posts that came on the back of the initial tweet in question, they focus in on one spicy anonymous tweet. And they use that to sort of effectively tar every other tweet under the same brush, which gives the likes of The Sun their story. It's a joke. Our children are being threatened because harm comes in more ways than a punch in the face. One single comment would be a threat in itself. A comment would be a threat in itself. But there are hundreds of comments, so a comment, irrespective of whether or not it actually indicates an intention of harm, is still classified as a threat in some capacity because it's harmful in and of itself in nature. This is just language being twisted and contorted. Miss Harker says the abuse, again with the hyperbole, began following a visit from Nicola Thinlips. A photo of Thinlips with around 30 pupils was posted in the school's Twitter account on Friday, right? Staff are now being offered support from Glasgow City Council's psychological services, while concerned parents were being invited to meet with staff at the school yesterday. The abuse, again hyperbole, was condemned on Twitter by Thinlips following her visit. Yeah, we've all seen that, in fact, I've got it here. Every brilliant young person and every member of staff is worth 1 million and more of the vile racists who hurl abuse at them. It's my privilege to represent the wonderful, multi-ethnic, multicultural south side of Glasgow. But even by saying that, you are proving the point of the people who are making observations merely based on a photo. What I mean is a photo of a class of kids who are all BAME, bar one kid. The point that was being made, the observations that were being made by people in the comment sections were that this was quite clearly an example of demographic change. So for you to then rebuke the people who are saying these things, first and foremost by calling them racist, is somewhat lambastic in nature. But secondly, and most importantly, the main crux of this argument is the fact that in order to dispute and rebuke the so-called racist pointing out that this is an example of demographic change, you then go on to celebrate the fact that you represent a part of Glasgow that's multi-ethnic and multicultural, thus by extension proving the point that it's not Scottish. Thus, in your attempts to rebuke the very people that you're trying to contradict and shut down and counteract, you're proving them correct. They are correct in their assertions, they are correct in their assumptions, and they're very well correct in and of itself. Like, I don't know. Twitter did not respond to requests for a comment. Oh, no, but you wish they did, eh? But just a wee bit more on this, because the head teacher obviously had something to say on the matter. Just accept this time around, doesn't matter. Go away. Let me see. We have here racist trolls. Oh yeah, they're racist. Totally racist. Let me see. Director of Education for Glasgow City Council, Douglas Hutchison, tweeted, "You believe in love rather than hate, because love draws out the best in us, while hate feeds on our smallness." Just, whatever. Let's just get to the, there's the photo in question, by the way. Like, wait a minute, sorry. One white kid. Whatever. So we come down now because the head teacher gets involved, and I think this is of importance. In truth, people should not be afraid to report a hate crime. It is very important that when it happens, we all do so. In our experience, the police will treat it very seriously. We had officers in the school yesterday, and it sends out a very clear message to our older pupils and our wider community that no one should tolerate abuse. It must be reported. The council has also voiced its horror after the attack, and it's fully backing St Albert's fight against trolls. Councillor Christina Cannon said Glasgow is proud to be an inclusive city enriched by its diversity. You're proving the fucking people correct by saying nonsense like this. You really are. We do not tolerate hate crime, and I encourage anyone who witnesses it or experiences it to report it either to the police or via a third-party reporting centre. And just to finish off, following the appalling comments made online, head teacher Claire Harker quickly reported the incident to the police. The incident. This is where we're at now. Peace.